Hey everyone, and welcome to the Infinite Respawn podcast. I'm Chicken.
I'm Oak Tree.
I'm Griff.
And I'm Baka.
Y'all so dumb.
I'm not. Look.
That was the second intro, people. Griff caught me in the middle of the last one.
I didn't
We're gonna save
expect
that
you
for
to
end of the
just,
year bloopers.
Just shut up.
Have you met him? That's
I know,
what he
right? We've
does.
been doing this for how many years? You think I go 3, 2, 1 action and get one of the little camera
We're
things?
on the
to
better
start?
side of a decade here. She's thinks you know by now.
Whatever.
Oh.
Oh,
So-
too funny.
Where are we starting today? I guess
Oh my goodness.
there's some things.
Well, there's a little back and forth and whatnot. Our next show will be packed. I promise you that.
Well, our next show is also going to be the last for the year before the holidays and everything, so it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Flames all around the outside. It's fine.
Where do you want to start then?
We're going to start with one from a long time ago.
Okay.
8 years ago, after a very tumultuous release, No Man's Sky has finally crossed the threshold into a very positive rating on Steam. 8 years, almost 10 years down the road.
Took them a while, but they got there. They did it, you
They
guys.
got there. They
Pop
knew they
the
could do it.
champagne.
They knew they could do it. It took a long, long time. Don't give up on your dreams.
Don't let your dreams be memes.
I am just going to state this now, and I said it from the beginning when they had the poor release to start with. That game, before when they originally announced it, said they'd been working on it for 11 years. They had the flood. It destroyed their entire systems. I guarantee you, part of their issue is the fact Sony wouldn't allow them out of that contract, and they've continued to work on it ever since, and they've got it up to the game that they originally promised us. I've played the game several times. There's still parts of it that are broken. I'm not going to lie. But the game feels like a very full and lively game. There are parts of the game I don't like. For example, there's 3 of us that are playing together and we all had different missions. So it's not like you're really playing together. So one person doesn't get credit for the stuff you're doing, things like that. So even though it's cooperative in the fact that you can see your friends and you can see their bases, it's not fully cooperative.
That's
I'm
kinda weird.
hoping, yeah, it's very strange. I'm hoping that the new game that they're planning on creating, the fire one, whatever that one's called, whatever rhymes, it's over there. The No Man's Fire, we'll call it that because I can't
Oh
remember the
God! Stop.
But I feel like if that one has a true cooperative part of it and can still add some of the elements that are really good with No Man's Sky and actually have a good release, I think they'll be okay. My guess is they've probably been working on that one 5 years. Took 3 years to try to get everything up and running over the last 8. And so we'll see, because most games take 5 years or more now to make, just because of all the intricacies that are part of the gaming industry, but also what they want to do with games and what everybody else is trying to do with games is a lot more difficult. I just still hate the fact that when they released No Man's Sky, they stayed fucking quiet on their broken ass game, and that's why you have an overwhelmingly negative one. And trying to get out of that hole is damn near impossible. So congrats to them, I guess, for that.
I was say that's it takes a lot of effort to stick
I
to
mean,
the game and build it.
35 updates to the game, or DLCs, major DLCs to the game that were completely free. You paid for the game one time, continued to add to it. I got to give them props. It's not a fucking game to where it's full of microtransactions or anything like that, like everybody tries to shove now. I don't know how they're making money off the game, I'll be honest with you.
They get kicked back from Game Pass.
I mean, yeah, a little bit, but not that much.
There's got to be some sort of licensing. Like, if people play your game more, Microsoft gives you more. Like, there has to be some sort. It's got to be something like Steam, where like if more people buy your game on Steam, you make more money. It's got to be if more people play your game, you make more money from Xbox.
Maybe. I just think
There's
it's
gotta be.
crazy. It's just crazy that it's 8 years later and somehow they're still pushing out content. I think the last one was their last major thing, though. Their last major update to fix everything.
I hope the entire gaming industry looked at them and went like, "Oh wow, that's really bad idea to have all of our information stored in one place."
Yeah.
We should probably have backups
to be fair, they
somewhere else.
To be fair, it was before cloud gaming was, or cloud backups was the thing. And
you can put stuff somewhere else. You don't have to have cloud.
And the entire town flooded. So even if and it was a small studio. So it's, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt on some of that stuff, but it is, they were a tiny studio, but I feel like Sony's point of it, they should have gone, hey, you can back up to us guys. So that way all your shit's in one spot in case something happens.
Yes, that right there, Sony should have been like, we will buy you servers or whatever so that you can back up your stuff somewhere else so that it's not in risk of losing.
Right, but props to them for getting it up to par. But
almost a decade, but they did it! Yay!
Hey, they stuck to it.
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah.
We can't say the same for other games. Everybody else shuts their game down, right?
Yeah,
like it's a shitty game, so we're just gonna shut it down.
Or constantly give us expansions and never fix the issues.
Right.
God.
Arc.
They'll just release a new version of Arc.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, oh look, we're already doing expansions again. It's like, okay.
That's the saddest.
Okay.
We're gonna put out a whole new version of this game that we never finished in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
They finished it enough.
You love to see
enough.
Enough. All right. So
how long was it even out in full release before they went, hey, where are you doing it? Give us some more money.
I don't know.
What,
6 years, 7 years.
What, Arc?
Yeah, like actually in full launch.
It took a year from early access, a year and a half to get from early access to full release, I believe. It released in a fall because it was one of the falls that because see what the full release was.
Development began early access in the middle of 2015. It was officially released in 2017.
So 2 years in early access-ish.
And then they fully released it in 2017. And then they released a new remaster, Ark Survival Ascended, which was released for early access in October of 23.
Yeah. You're thinking expansions, because they did start releasing expansions.
They started releasing
They released expansions before they were done with the main game.
Oh, yeah. In early access,
there was 5 expansions to the damn game, I think, before there was a full release. And then they had that box that was released with all of it.
About 6 years before they went, let's just remake it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, Last of Us, to be fair, remastered 2 years or a year after they released the original version of the game.
Yeah, but didn't they release it towards the end of the PS3 era?
They did, and then then they remastered a year
Grand Theft
later.
Auto, because Grand Theft Auto 5 did something similar where it was like, well, we released it at the end of the console life, and so we're just redoing it and adding some new things in for the new consoles. It's like, okay, the end of the console life, that's fine, but still.
Their first expansion, by the way, was released before the game was in full release. It was 2016.
It was two expansions were released before the game was released.
That's wild to me. September 1st, 2016, your game's still in early access. You haven't even finished it yet, and you're selling me expansions. I thought that's what happened, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, there was a couple
we were like, are you out of line?
Made a lot of people mad. Basically, it was 2 different biomes. One was the desert biome.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the other one was.
That's what
Scorched Earth was the first one.
Yeah, that's was the desert one. And then it was Aberration, I think, which is or was it Extinction? Yeah. Which one of these came next?
It wasn't Extinction, I don't think.
Extinction was 2018.
They did do a Survival of the Fittest.
Aberration was 2017. Yeah. That one's the one that has the crystal areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there was another one that was released in between there that was released just before the 2017 launch. Or maybe that one was released with the launch. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Doesn't look like it. Oh, I'm looking at all of their add-on content.
Because I remember 2017, the Apparition thing coming out because they had a massive booth at PAX West that year.
Yeah, I mean, those were the 3, and then they did the Genesis patches, which were part 1 and part 2. Well, not patches, they were also expansions, but 1 and 2. And they did maps as well, but the maps were free. Like the Center and Ragnarok and things like that.
Well, the Center was created by an outside person, if I remember correctly. And then they released it inside, and I think gave them a piece of it, if I remember correctly.
2016 is when they launched the Center, the map.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that original map that we all pretty much had memorized because we had to roam everywhere through it.
I've still got that thing burned into my damn memory.
Most of it I have in mine.
I'm gonna open it up at some point and get back to, because I mean you can boost all of your stuff, but I think that our child would really like to see stuff like that, and so now I've got to go back and make a dinosaur zoo for him essentially. Ugh.
Dinosaur.
I almost opened it today to get started, and I was like, I really just don't feel like it. I'm going to, though. It's for him, so I'll do that.
Just for you, kid.
Just for you, kid.
Disaster.
I think I've got all of that game too, because I think they ended up putting on sale. Like I had the part of the original game, of course, which I'd originally had on Xbox, and then decided I needed the PC version of it for some reason. I was like, if they ever finish this game, at least I have it. And I paid like $4 for it. And then like 2-3 years ago, it was like after their announcement that they were going to stop their servers for the original version of the game and do it for just the HD version, all that stuff. They released all the expansion packs for like another $4 and some change or something. And I was like, I want to snag them while I can.
Huh. Oh man, I don't know. That game was something else, that's for sure.
Buggy, laggy.
I mean, a lot of it
It would be interesting to
Raptors.
It would be interesting to see with the systems that we have now, though, like how, like graphically wise and everything else, how well that will run. I know part of that is on just the server side of it, but I'd be interested to see how the game itself would run.
Well,
definitely.
What else we got?
Oh, let's see. PlayStation has got a couple of these articles. Right, I think this one was right after our last show. Yeah, right after our last show. PlayStation was in talks to buy the owner of Elden Ring, like the big company behind it. They are called, sir, what's their name? Kadokawa. Yeah. Now that it is a media giant. They do everything from like anime to games to other types of media.
Doesn't Sony already
owns Crunchyroll?
Right, that's what I thought. I thought they were.
Yeah.
Sony's
trying to buy up all of like the Japanese media giants
Sony
and
owns
become
Crunchyroll and Funimation.
Yes.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. That was like what, a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like y'all getting close to that, like trying to buy it all thing, huh?
I don't know if Japan has the same kind of monopoly laws that we do.
Well, I felt like that that they were one of the countries that Microsoft was waiting on for the monopoly issue that they were looking at for Activision Blizzard. I feel like they have one, but it's not necessarily the same. But I would. That's going to be quite interesting if they've already got Crunchyroll and Funimation, and then they're going to do Kadokawa as well.
Yeah, they own that. Like, whew.
That would be crazy.
But on top of that, like going into owning From Software, which
they will pull From Software out of that company and move it to them,
Yeah, it's just it'll be very interesting to see how they would end up doing that too, and whether I don't know if you have to approve across the entire world. I guess you would because Microsoft had to, but Sony's also a global brand too.
Microsoft could have just been like, we're not selling there. If it would have just been one company. Granted, every company wants to make sure everybody's okay with it so that they can still do business there. But if what they're doing in their country and our country doesn't like it, they can be like, well, you can't do that here because that's against the law, and if you're not going to confine to our laws while you're here.
Interesting part about this too, though, is they just ran into that controversy of the Helldivers 2 thing where you had to log into their accounts. Yeah. Now, whether you're going to make it to where you have to log into Elden Ring, that most people that are playing that are going to be playing on every platform available, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, now are you going to make it to where they have to log into a Sony account to be able to play Elden Ring if you end up purchasing in this? And then what does that also mean for the Mario and Luigi Brothership game as well? I mean, I'm sure it's still licensed to Nintendo at the end of the day, but I guess they're a lot nicer. Everybody's a lot nicer to Nintendo than they are anybody else anyway. But it's still an interesting concept here, and it could be to where they end up with a global issue that's similar to that last transaction. Just if with anything, I would think that anime issue it's got to be part of that too.
Yeah.
That's owning.
But there are so many, because I think those are just publishing companies, and there are so many companies that do a lot of the animation for animes and whatnot. You got so many big and little ones that could do these, because I think they've gotten 3 different companies to do the different seasons of One Punch Man. And like, they're big and they're small, or you get these ones who take a risk on these smaller adaptations. And then you got Netflix who does their own anime adaptations. Like, there's still competition around the world, but a lot of it kind of almost funnels through Sony and then back out.
Well, and it could end up being, think of them similar to like the whole Ticketmaster and Live Nation thing, where they're kind of one entity. So it ends up being to where now you end up with a lawsuit because those smaller studios don't have a choice on where they can go. And so now Sony theoretically could turn around and go, well, we're going publishing rights. We're going to charge you more than we normally would because we're the only shop you can come to.
Take that.
Yep. So that'll be interesting. But I feel like you at some point too, because like with Crunchyroll, you have a monthly subscription fee, right? That goes on there. And so somehow those are being divvied out. Like, I guess it's kind of like Netflix and the fact that you got a certain amount of plays that they can keep track of and then push them back out. But you get a saturated market to where you can't find what you're looking for almost. Because you're going to have the Dragon Ball Zs of the world where people are just going to constantly put them on play in the background because that's their gig, right?
Yeah.
It's got such a cult following. So, but then you're going to have those newer ones that might not get the push to the top for availability and shown or whatever new releases, because that's the only place you can go, and you've got thousands upon thousands available to you. So interesting.
You're spoiled for choice. It's choice exhaustion.
Yep.
Yeah. That happens a lot. That's been there's a lot of studies about that. I find it interesting, so I know they exist if you're interested.
Which, to be fair, I think I like the way Netflix does it too. It's like there are a lot of choices on Netflix, but whenever they're coming out with something, they advertise, they almost like tunnel vision everybody who uses their service to watch this one new show that they've got. And then they constantly push that show. Like it was Arcane recently. They pushed
and then
you saw it everywhere.
That show after one season when everybody likes it, right?
It depends on some of them they do, some of them they don't.
Yeah, Arcane got both of its season. It's done.
Yeah.
I feel like though in that case too, animation was probably the cheaper of the routes compared to paying regular actors.
Season 2 took $250 million to make.
Yeah, and Riot was like, "Yeah, don't judge us for that. We did what we wanted." And it's like, well,
yeah, Riot was like, "We're a game company and we didn't want to outsource it, so we'd spent $250 million making season 2."
Yes.
Oh well. They literally were like, "Oh well."
Which I'm just like, That's so wild. That's so expensive. Yeah, it's true. Look it up.
I was like, wow.
I believe you. I'm just like, what?
They just shrugged off $250 million for 10 episodes of an anime.
Yeah.
That's insane. Also,
right.
Also, gonna say this now: their artists cannot. They better have gotten a ton of fucking money if you spent that much money on it, because they had to go somewhere. And you can't complain if you're one of their artists if they spent $250 million on 10 episodes.
Good God.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Jesus.
Like, oh God, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Because normally,
it was a good season though.
I've heard. I've heard it is.
We're gonna start it this week.
Yes.
Because you have like anywhere from a budget of $1 to $5 million on like a regular television show. We'll use Last of Us as an example for just the setting and stuff like that. So you figure you're paying your actors, you're doing all that. Some of those actors are making $750 to $1 million per episode that they're in, depending on who they are, like if they're one of the main cast or not. So even then, they're topped out probably, if it's a newer show, anywhere from $50 to $100 million, and that's with real live actors and full-on crews coming in and building sets and all. That's insane, spending that much money on animation.
It's about what, 25 million per episode?
And they're like, don't judge us. No, I'm gonna fucking judge you.
I'm gonna do what I want.
It's still gonna happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
If they ever release that movie, that show on like Blu-ray or whatever, or some type of digital outlet to actually purchase it and sit down with it, it's gonna be astronomical for.
There is another Sony article that I want to do that, but since we're on Riot real quick, I'm gonna divert topics and we'll come back to Sony in just a second.
Okay.
Because
Whirlwind.
we're talking about like they spent $250 million on this to get people into the League of Legends world. Basically, it's almost like self promo. They spend the money and they can kind of like, but how many people do you get to come into your world because of that? Saying that leads to this article. Riot will now ban creators for bad conduct, even if it's not said in game. Now, this is a gentle line that I think it was an inevitability, because a lot of streamers will play people's game. You're making money off of someone else's game. Like that, it's free advertisement, which is fine. Which, in my opinion, gives the creator some sort of power to be like, I don't like how you talk while playing our game. If it's hateful and things like that, like if you're crossing the line into this kind of hateful area where you are saying some pretty awful things.
Well, part of that is too, not just them, it's setting an example for the community, right?
Yes.
Because if they've got 10,000 people watching them play a game and they're a total douchebag, toxic person, and let's say that maybe half of those people actually go out and play that game, they could end up emulating exactly what they've seen or heard. And so I'm all for that, actually. And I think I actually am for more studios doing that. I think they need a set of rules.
Yes.
So the creator knows exactly where that stands, what they constitute that, instead of moving goalposts around depending on who's saying it or anything like that, which happens sometimes. Yes. Twitch is notorious for that.
Yes.
But I think that you have to set up rules and just say, hey, it's part of our if you're going to your license, we're basically giving you a free license to be able to play our game and be able to stream it. You can lose that privilege if you don't follow these rules.
Yes. I completely agree with that. WoW does that with theirs. Like anytime you load up WoW now, you have to agree to the community guidelines, which is a strict set of rules that basically say, all summed up, do not be an asshole. Okay? Don't be another word for asshole. Okay? So, and you have to agree with it, and everybody just clicks agree on everything without reading it. But
agree, but we also know that the League of Legends community is one of the more toxic communities. So it's like, y'all gonna start doing some extra policing in house there, buddy?
Yeah, they've tried. Like I've been with playing League for over a decade and some change, and they have gone through so many variations of trying to punish people. My favorite personally was the tribunal, Basically, if you sign up, you're a player, you can log into your account on the website and then sign up for the tribunal, and you would go through reports of people and basically see their name, how many games were reported by, the chat logs, and everything. And they would basically give you everything, and then you would vote, punish or not punish, based on how you felt they were acting in those games. And then after so many reviews, like so many peers would review that one, then they would make the punishment or they would pass.
I see this as them looking at in the past going after the people that are being toxic. Depending on how many people are playing their games, which I know has always been a ton. Could be more difficult to go after and do and take longer to do versus going into individual creators, because you're going to have less of those theoretically that are playing at that level. And I think that it's one of those where before they were almost treating the symptom, and now they're trying to figure out if that's a source and going after it. It might be just another symptom, but at the end of the day, if they can control it and get it done, it might keep it from spreading. Theoretically. So it's an interesting idea. Nobody else is doing it. So fuck. Do it.
To be 100% honest, the symptom is humankind. Like, not to pull any punches. Humans are just shitty. And when you put them into competitive environments, they get even worse.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's got that competitive hotheadness, and it would just be better if we did not talk to each other while we were like that. Because, like the teachers used to say in elementary school, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Griff is feeling attacked.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not
I married
wrong,
one
but
like
it definitely.
Yeah, she can get that way.
You think?
I get after her too, so there's definitely no bias there. I definitely get after her like I try to get after other people. Just don't
she knows though. She knows. Yes. She knows where she's at.
Yes. I mean, my child does the same thing too. Like, you could see it on his face. He gets so angry, and it's like, take a breath. Walk away and take a breath.
We both have faces that come with subtitles, unfortunately.
Yes.
So even if I choose to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Even if I choose that route, still the wrong one. Still going to see it right on my face. Going to read those subtitles. Can't help it.
Yeah, so.
At least in games, though, I'm on a headset and you can't see the faces.
But yeah, it's just, we got to learn how to treat the symptoms over and over again. Eventually, you're always going to have bad actors in every game you play, no matter what. It's just how low is it?
Yeah. So I don't I kind of like what they're doing. I kind of like it being like an overreach, because it is kind of an overreach. You're looking at what they're saying on social media and things like that, but at the same time, like
you're representing our game
that says you're not going to be a dick, and you're being a dick.
Well, and that's the thing, is that where you cross that line from you're being a dick in game on our client versus you're being a dick outside of our client. Right. But you change that when you stream their game and you are making money off of playing their game as an entertainer. Now they can choose how they want to interact with you based on being a representative of their game.
I'm interested to see how this is implemented and how it goes once it is.
Yeah. Definitely. So and I think it's going to be I think you're going to have 2 terms of service that are going to pop up, because you're going to have the terms of service, and both are going to apply to everybody, but it's going to be nobody's going to read any of it.
They're just going to go click, let me play the game.
And they're going to hit, okay, I want to play the game. And I think it's going to be where again, you're going to have those rules set up, because Riot has a history as well of being toxic towards women specifically in the past. So where do you limit what people can say on Twitter? Because you do in the gaming community have a lot of toxicity towards women specifically as well. And so it's kind of where it's like, okay, so if they turn around and they're like, well, they play like a chick, is that tolerable? But if you turn around and go, throw in some type of term now, some actual type of hate speech here towards women, which I don't want to go over right now on the podcast, but throw some stuff that's out there, and that will be non-tolerable, or is it just covered in general? You said that on Twitter, you didn't say it in the game. It's going to be to where they're going to have to kind of narrow those rules down to where people can specifically know what they did or didn't do. And then you need to have a start date. You can't say shit that somebody's now 22 years old and at 16, they put some stupid shit on Twitter. It needs to be to where, like, if they've grown since then, supposedly should have grown
if
and
the
matured.
little Twitter thing is right, it says that they will start enforcing it on January 3rd, 2025. So from my
yeah, I don't think it'll be retroactive.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's everything from January 3rd, 2025 and onwards. Like everything afterwards, blank slate, everybody starts on the same page, but from this point on, your conduct needs to be better.
Oh, that's exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah, so I mean, I get it. We just have to walk this line carefully because we don't know how far they want to keep going, but I think this is fine right now. And as a community, we can kind of be like, all right, okay, we can agree that this is kind of one of those things that's necessary. Let's see how this works, and then see where you want to go from here, or where we need to go, or because I mean, if your community is not totally shitty, you can always step that back and be like, okay, we're not watching everybody anymore because it's not a problem, but right now it's a problem. So rules have to be made in order to fix problems. So,
yep.
So I can understand that. So, but that's with Riot. I figured we'd jump over that one real quick, and now we can go back to Sony, to the Sony part of it. Apparently they were looking to, they're prepping their PlayStation 5 portable.
Yeah, to basically be the PlayStation 5 portable that people thought it was going to be, I guess, instead of what it ended up being at launch. So basically, originally everybody thought it was going to be more like the Switch, to where you have that available to you, whether that's completely online or not. They now do have cloud play available to you, which is nice, instead of you having to have a PlayStation 5 and having that stuff streamed over to it while you're on the same Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. And so I am interested to see where this goes, because Sony time and time again has failed in the portable market.
Yes, they have.
But it almost makes me wonder if the announcement.
I mean, the PSP did all right. I mean,
it did okay.
A complete flop.
The Vita was a flop.
The Vita was a flop too, because they would not support it. Like
that's true.
They were like, oh, here's this great device that we have, and people love their Vita. Like, they play their Vita, they loved it, and then they were like, and here's 3 games for it.
And
that's it. You get 3 games, and it's, I don't know. I feel like I like the idea of now that cloud gaming's more of a thing, having that available to them, to people that are playing on it. But again, you have to have Wi-Fi to be able to do the playing. It's not working off of a cell service or anything like that. So. Which is probably okay. I mean, I feel like most people would want a game. I'd want to know what the playtime is if you're streaming a game. Yeah. Is it like Steam Deck, where if you got it on full graphics and everything else, and you're playing a game, you get about, I don't know, 30 minutes before your battery's dead, or you know.
Just to put this is still in the early stages, and it might not even reach the market, but they are working on it, and they're trying to make it work. Like, it seems like Sony is still out there kind of reaching and trying to find different markets, different things to kind of pull themselves in, where Nintendo's settled in. I don't see any major changes from Nintendo in the way they operate anymore. Microsoft seems like it's starting to settle down into, like, we're a game company. Consoles, we make consoles. We do that every now and then. It's still cool. But we make games. We make games and cloud consoles so that people can play our games anywhere. But they're more focused on making games, where Sony's like, we make consoles, we make games, we make anime, we make devices, we make everything. That chair you're sitting on, we make it. The air you breathe, we make it. The water, we made it too. It's like they're just trying to get everything.
I think part of the information that's coming out too is because of the recent information that's been predicted that Xbox is coming out with a handheld as well. Mm-hmm. I think that Sony's trying to put that information out there that they're trying to work on this portable, because otherwise it ends up being one more thing that should have been done better and they didn't do it right. And it was like the PlayStation TV was a great concept, and that's what this is, except it's the handheld, right?
Yeah.
So, but now they've upgrading it. Great concept, but
yeah, we'll see how that works out over the few years, which we should be looking to get a sneak peek at the Nintendo Switch 2. here soon. The rumors are it's going to be announced in January. Again, rumors, whatever. Rumors are announced in January and released in March, which Nintendo usually has a very fast turnaround. They don't announce things unless they're ready, minus a few oopsie daisies, like with the Metroid Prime 4, where they're like, we're working on that. Then 4 years later, they're like, we're working on that again.
That's one of the few games that they've come out and was like, yeah, we weren't happy with how that was going, so we just scrapped it and we're doing something different.
Which, respect to Nintendo, they do not do subpar. If they don't like it, it's not released. They will start over from scratch no matter what.
Reroll.
Pretty much, without fear too. Like
they have the money to do it too, and most of their, they look at it as we want our stuff to sell and sell big.
Yeah, they've got a reputation that they are very protective of. Speaking of such, this article that pertains to Nintendo. Okay, so Nintendo went after a pirate, a gaming pirate who runs a pirate store with Nintendo emulators and things like that and whatnot, and they got his ass. He disappeared, but they've got it. But tracking him down, they have found a subreddit with over 200,000 members on it that traffic in all of this stuff and do websites and sell stuff, and they are filing lawsuits against that subreddit and all the people on it in the list too, because they're making money off of Nintendo's pirated stuff, and Nintendo does not take too kindly to people making money off of that.
Nintendo said, hell no.
I'll keep up with that and see how it's going, but like as we have stated before, don't fuck around with Nintendo. They tend to not really bother people if you just do emulators or you stay off to the side if you're not making money on it, but oh my god, the moment you make a dime on it, they will fucking burn your house down.
Yes.
Like without fear. So you just don't make money off of it. Continue your passion projects and your other sorts. Just let it go. Don't make money off of it. But yeah, I saw that one kind of popping up around the internets.
What else we got?
Well, the last thing is we talked about in the last show was the Game Award nominees are out. Next week it's the Game Awards. Yep. Next Thursday, people.
Yeah. So
next Thursday is the Game Awards.
And then we'll have a podcast right after, which will be the last one for the year.
Yep. Big news, scary news for everybody is the big Game of the Year thing is that there's a DLC on it, and that's the big hoopla on this road of this one.
We talked about them allowing that, and then we talked about it at the last show, and then like the next couple of days after that is when they were like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and let that be fine. Like, here it is. We all knew it was coming.
Yeah, we all knew it was coming. We knew it was going to be Elden Ring.
Fuck you, Game Awards. Jeff Keighley's Best Friend Club. That's it. That's all it is.
They need to be like best content expansion, and then it be included like that. There's just a year. Best content expansion.
Yeah. I mean, you're willing to do best adaptation, so you're going outside of what's actually games anyway. It's games that are turned into something else. And stuff like best mobile game and stuff. Just also make another category for best expansions. Expansions and add-on content. Like, there you go. Problem solved. Do not put it in Game of the Year. That is ridiculously dumb. Although I don't really know how I feel about the Game of the Year category anyway, but...
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any of these. Astrobot, from what I've watched, it's a great game. It's a ton of fun.
It's in like every category.
Little Big Planet. I mean, I've watched it play. I just don't see how it's
super innovative.
That kind of groundbreaking.
I think it's more of having played the first one. It's more of think of Super Mario. Like the newer Super Mario games, all the 3D ones, so 64 and on. It's that same style of game, of course.
Right.
But I think that it's versatile. Like you can have, I'm okay with my 9-year-old playing it, and it's something I'd want to play myself. And I think that's kind of it bridges all gaps in age and things like that. And I think that's what's kind of.
But I mean, is that enough to push it over like Game of the Year category? Like push it into the Game of the Year category?
I think so, more than a 25-hour DLC that was created by a game that's like 80 fucking hours or higher original, and it's at least it gives an option there for a multiple play. To me, game of the year needs to be based on categories anyway. So like if you have best indie, the best narrative, the best RPG, whatever, all those go into one category for game of the year. So then you separate those out. But because you've already won your category, so then you put it in there and say which would be the best of that. But I have a problem with the fact that there's not an individual DLC option, but you have continuing game option.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a DLC. It can just be best content expansion. You can do seasons. You can do expansions. You could do DLC. You could throw all of that into the content expansion because there's what 3-4 seasons in certain games. You could pick one of those seasons because it boosted the game during that quarter of the year and was just unparalleled. Like, look at what Pal World did in January. Like, tell me what Pal World did in January.
Right.
Like, holy shit. You want to talk about greatness? That game exploded onto the scene and dominated everything for a while.
Well, and then you have like with Black Myth Wukong, like you'd go on stream and everybody was playing the game. Now, my PC didn't like it, but it was one of those where like everybody was playing the game. They were enjoying the game. It had a very similar feel to a from software style game, but also had an element of more of a hack and slash in certain parts of it. So it was like a good variety that was there. You have Silent Hill 2 that came out. How is that not even on this fucking list? I don't know.
I wasn't gonna say that because I know. Narrative. Yeah, but it's not in the game of the year contention.
The game of the year.
Yeah, so it's like, I have issue with this anyway.
I don't think I even heard of Metaphor.
Metaphor Refantasio, yeah, that one's pretty good. It's basically a Persona style game. Huge JRPG, deep, immersive, but it just came out. Like, if I'm not mistaken,
it came out last month, didn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it came out very recently, October 11th, about a month ago. Like, I mean, and that's part of the problem with these game awards, is that usually when games come out so close, it's like, oh yeah, these ones are the big titles, and then you forget about ones earlier in the year, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about those ones. It's like,
I feel like that happens a lot for the game awards. They just completely forget anything that happens before like July.
Yes, anything that happens before July is not on the list.
I say that, but Helldivers was early in the year, and that's on there a few times.
Is it on the game of the year?
No, it's not on game of the year.
It should have been. I mean, based on the amount of, because you could even separate a category out and put a game of the year, and then put another one that was player's choice of the year, and base it on how many people played the fucking games.
That one should be in the list. That was February. Again, early in the year, happened before July. People forgot all about it, so it's not going to be on game of the year. Game of the year, if you don't come out in the second half of the year, you don't matter.
Like, it's just some of the stuff that they have is just I don't get it. I don't understand it. The only reason that the Game Awards exists now is to put trailers up.
It's for Jeff Keighley to get on stage and feel special and show trailers. Yes.
It's barely show trailers.
It's barely an award show. Like, with these categories, they're going to speed through them so fast just to get to things like musical performances, throwing Kojima out on stage, and trailers. That's really all it is. Like, he just made his own E3 in the winter and pretended that for a couple of years it was an award show.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's never been that, and we've always talked about it like that. Balatro was released February 20th, and it's still popping.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that it's on there as much. One, it was early in the year, and two, it's, from what I understand, it's a relatively simple thing. Like, it's not earth-shattering.
It is simple, but it's one of those where, because that game was so addictive, so many people playing it, you have variety of places to be able to play that game as well. That helps too. I like the fact that it's basically the the part of an auto shooter where you just turn around and go, okay, I'm going to choose this particular ability and go through it, and you're playing the card game that way, and you can actually copy that seed and replay that seed if you want to and get the same stuff for the card game part of it, which is neat.
That's pretty
neat. It's got some real good replayability on it to be able to play through. I think the game is great. I don't think I would put it on Game of the Year, but you know what? I'd put it on Game of the Year over a fucking DLC at the end of the day. You know, it's just... You know, I think game direction, things like that, yeah, definitely needs to be part of as Game of the Year. Not necessarily, but again, they put an expansion on there because it's Elden Ring.
And Jeff Keighley really likes that. So,
all right. So my top 3 choices, like what I think is going to happen, I think Elden Ring is going to win Game of the Year, and if it's not Elden Ring, I think it'll be Final Fantasy, and if not Final Fantasy, Astro. Balatro was put up there because of how popular it was and addictive and like how much fun it was. Black Myth Wukong was put up there because of player count, and Metaphor Fantasio was put up there because it was recent and it's pretty popular, but I don't think it's, again, groundbreaking.
I honestly had not heard of it until it was on the list.
I saw it when it first came out and everybody was talking about it, and I looked at it, I was like, damn, this is a good ass looking game. I'm gonna play this if I had time to play a JRPG. It's like 180 hours.
I think it's going to be between Elden Ring and Black Myth.
Really? I think it's going to be Elden Ring or Astrobot. I think it's going to be between those two.
It could be.
You either give it to FromSoft or the Elden Ring people, or you give it to Sony.
Yeah, like my thing with Black Myth
their back.
Yeah, pretty much.
It got bloated because of player base, and like after the hype died off of it, it's just a pretty decent game, but it ain't groundbreaking anymore. Yeah, it just got super popular.
The people that I know that played it was like, because some people were comparing it to like a Dark Souls-esque game, but they were saying that the combat is much more simplified.
Yeah, like it's super basic.
Yeah,
compared to other ones.
Instead of, you know, you're just kind of hitting one button over and over.
Yep. I've heard that too. Like after a certain point in the game, it just becomes hyper repetitive.
Wow.
So I really do think it's going to be between Elden Ring and Astrobot.
Yeah. I think Game of the Year is a joke category these days when it comes to the game awards, which is sad. Like, it'd be nice to have an actual legitimate, you know, award ceremony where the stuff was relatively reflective of what happened throughout the year, but I don't feel like that's what this is. So,
which, to be fair, I think
let's start our own.
Yeah.
To be fair, I really like Oak's taking the best of each of these 5 categories and then putting them into the Game of the Year. Best game direction, best narrative, best art direction, best score and music, and best audio design.
And then let them fight it out.
Let those top 5 games, and then let people decide which part of those games is the best. Like, because I mean,
Elden Ring is even on that for best art direction. Like,
how is that any different?
That shouldn't be on there. It is additional content. It did not change the art direction of the original game. You've already given it an award. Back off. Like,
okay,
that feels like that's too much.
I don't know what Neva is, but I will say for art direction, that game is nice. Very interesting looking. Very, very interesting art direction.
It's a game of impact as well. Neva is.
Like that's a pretty good. That one reminds me of Ori and the Blind Forest, I think it is. Like, if you want to be in the art direction category, you have to be outstanding in that category. Like, your art can't just be generic Unreal Engine stuff. It has to be handcrafted or different or something unique to your game. Because that is pretty good. That art direction is pretty nice. Audio design, Silent Hill was pretty good. Audio design, Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Yeah, it's like a cross of Ori and the Blind Forest and Limbo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like that for best performance because they don't hash it out like a lot of other award shows where it's like best male and female performances. It's just best performance. Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2 is the only dude in there. The rest of it's ladies, like lady dominated category.
I will say that Luke Roberts in that one.
Yeah, I know.
He's
like
pretty good in like. I'm very perceptive, so when I'm playing it, I'm watching the character so closely because they're kind of the main part of it. The gameplay is uber basic, but the character capture in it, and I watch them so closely, the small little nuances that they do in facial movement is so good. Like, it's good. The eye shifting, the lip furling, the like the eye, like all of it is so good on it, because you can kind of see the emotions conveyed through the mocap. And
see, and this is another one. This is another one you could do multiple categories into, and then have a best performance as a final. Like, so you go best male performance in a leading role, best male performance in a supporting role, best female performance in a leading role, best female performance in a supporting role, and then you take the winners of those 4 categories and you put them as best performance and put those 4 against each other. So you still get the same results at the end of the day.
Yeah, but that would also require having more than one show, and this dude doesn't give up about that.
It would also require you having an award show and not a trailer show that has awards listed.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's 4 trailers right there.
I know, right? Innovation and accessibility. I already guarantee that Dragon Age is going to get that one. The Veilguard.
Why do you think Dragon Age is going to win that? I don't think they will.
Because for innovation and accessibility, because they let you change they basically let you make your own fucking game the whole way through. You could change every single statistic in the entire game down to whether you die or not. Make the enemies pathetic and don't let me die. You basically walk through the game.
Everybody that needs that innovation and accessibility, by the way, is really mad at you for saying it that way.
I mean, but they've also added to be fair, it does make it more accessible to people too, right?
Right.
I'm part of the deaf community, so I need accessible stuff. It sucks when I'm playing surround sound games and I can't hear, or something sneaks up to me on the right side, and I'm just like, I'm that meme, you've seen it before, where the guy sneaks up to him and he's like, when the fuck did you get there? Yeah, that's usually anybody on my right side.
That's true.
But they offer so many customization things to make it so that you can play the game no matter what. Like, no matter what. Like, that's up there with Microsoft creating the controllers specifically for accessibility for anybody to play games.
Which Sony has one too, but I don't know if you've ever seen it or not. It's really weird.
But like, you play Dragon Age Veilguard on the Xbox console, and anybody and everybody.
But I think that's also asking a lot, because you're asking, did you play it? And the answer is, well, maybe not.
What did I play? What?
Dragon Age. That wasn't as big of a game as I think BioWare had hoped it would be. As you can see by the fact that it's not in any other category. That's literally its only category.
Yeah, well, that game came out October 31st, and it was kind of met with mediocrity.
Yes. Yeah. Mediocrity.
Best community support will be Baldur's Gate 3.
You're probably not wrong.
Best ongoing game may be Final Fantasy 14.
Probably, because that's one of the ones that I think they listen to what the community vote is, and it'll probably be Final Fantasy.
It usually is Final Fantasy 14, but that might be the one where they end up giving it to Helldivers too.
Yeah, they might.
So here's your, petty award. There you go. Get out.
We didn't put you in Game of the Year or anything like that.
Yeah, indie game is going to be Balatro or Manor Lords. Balatro or Manor Lords. I don't think it'll be Manor Lords, but it could be.
See, the Manor Lords is still in early access too.
Yes.
Oh, that's best debut indie. Yeah.
Best debut indie. Oh, best
independent. I would love an early access award, and you're not eligible for anything else while you're still in early access.
Yes. All right. Best mobile game. It'll probably be either Balatro or Pokemon.
Yeah.
I haven't played any VR games, so I don't know. All these, I've seen so many goddamn commercials for Batman VR.
Batman.
I think it's probably going to end up being the Batman game. Maybe the Metro Awakening, just because of how good that game looks. But the other ones I think are fillers almost, because I don't know. Metal Hill Slinger, that game is fast paced anyway. I could not imagine VR. Like, it is so fast paced first person. I just
need to sit down after playing that for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I would be nauseous, I'm pretty sure, playing that game.
It's only for seasoned VR people. You have to already be used to the motion sickness.
You already have, when they first started VR, like we'll use the Skyrim VR for an example. There was no walking. You had to hit a button and you kind of just teleported forward, right? And in the game for the metal slinger thing or whatever it's called, but that game is has that mechanic already built into it. Hellsinger, that's it. The has that already built into it. And it's like, so what else are you gonna do? Like, but it's like really fast.
Yeah.
When it does it. So oof.
Well.
Oof.
Ugh. I guess these are the core, like the subsequent categories left are the core of the best such and such.
Yeah.
Best
action.
Best action adventure. To me, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. That's what I would want to win that one. But I think it's gonna be Silent Hill 2.
I think it better be because Silent Hill got snubbed for Game of the Year.
I think if it was in Game of the Year, I think that Prince of Persia wins it. But
yeah,
it could be Astrobot. Astrobot's gonna take the house.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see an Astrobot sleeping.
That way Sony he plays nice with Sony the whole time.
That's it.
I will give you a little tidbit for the Prince of Persia game. I watch speedrunning stuff, so I watch that community a little bit. Apparently, the developers of the Prince of Persia thing, I don't know how true this is, but just to say, because I think they hosted an event on the speedrunners for people to speedrun their game and gave a prize, and after the contest was over, they fixed all of the bugs.
So they used the speedrunning community to test the game,
which hurt the community pretty bad too, and created a bad taste in the speedrunning community's mouth.
It doesn't matter that developer's no longer.
So, but yeah, that apparently did not go over very well.
The developer got shut down, but that game is fantastic.
Yeah, I've heard that game is incredibly good. It's another one of those 2.5D side scrollers.
Yep,
not my
it's
thing.
good.
Yeah.
What? You don't like that style game? I'm very surprised.
2.5D.
Yeah, it's not 2D. It's 2.5. You should be fine.
It's that's the problem.
Like Bloodstained, that game is so good. Let's see. Best RPG, Dragon's Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma 2 being on
Elden
there
Ring's gonna win
because it was very mixed.
You know what I love about this best RPG category? Is that Dragon Age isn't in it.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
And you know what's funny? It's not even in the best action game or the best action adventure
I told
game.
you it was literally only in the accessibility community category. I told you that. That's the only one.
Wow.
And you're right. It's because it's mediocre. Like, it is a game. It's okay. There's nothing special about it. So.
Wow, that's hilarious. Did Dragon's Dogma 2 come out this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, near the beginning of the year,
March.
Right?
And it's still on Steam. It's still mixed reviews because there's still broken stuff in it. It's recently more positive, but overall mixed. I have it on my wish list, and once it goes for less than 50% off, I'll probably pick it up and play it because I really like the first
plot,
one.
weak character development, poor performance and visuals.
Yeah, the performance is what I heard the most about. It's got a lot of frame drop stutters and other things that should have been optimized but weren't.
It's because they use their own specific engine, and they're still trying to work out how to get it to work right. I feel like they have a better grasp on this than EA has on the Frostbite engine, but it's still a pretty complicated engine that they're trying to run with.
Yeah. But I'm kind of a little surprised. But of course, that category, it doesn't matter who else is in the category because Elden Ring's gonna win it. Elden Ring's DLC.
All right, Baka, best fighting game. Who wins that one?
Yeah, since
I'm going for Marvel vs. Capcom.
Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. Okay,
the
arcade classics.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I don't feel the multiverses is gonna win. It's popular.
I mean, it's very much like Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Marvel vs. Capcom, like there's one you get a lot of the different versions of the games and stuff in it, but it's just that they have always been really solid ones. The Dragon Ball game, yeah, I mean it's like every other one. I didn't play Tekken 8, but I've never been a huge Tekken person, so.
And I don't even know that top one, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. What the hell kind of name is that?
You look at it and you go, oh my god, that looks so
series.
Cool. Grand Blue versus Rising. Steam, tell me what this game is.
Sometimes Steam can't help you.
What? How?
What?
Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, right? That's what the name is called?
Yeah, and then Rising is the subtitle on it.
Oh, Rising. Is that a different version of the game? Oh, Rising. Okay. That makes more sense. No, that still doesn't make any more sense. That game came out December 13th of last year.
Doesn't make it
because it was after the last one.
Literally the day after the awards, and they were like, we need to go back and find ourselves another fighting game. This doesn't even look like a fighting game.
Well, that
maybe it is.
Shows what you know.
Oh, it is a fighting game. Okay. Cool. Yes. All right. Hey, see, they went all the way back to the day after the award shows last year to find a game.
But they gotta make sure they're filling it.
Exactly.
Just, I mean, there's never like a ton of fighting games in comparison to other games, so.
That is true. More of a niche market. Best family game. I don't.
Astrobot's gonna win that.
Yeah, I'm
really
sure it will.
A family game? I mean,
yeah,
it's Super Mario Party Jamboree is fucking hitting hard.
I think it's co-op now. Astrobot, the original one, I want to say is single player, but this one's co-op.
Okay. Like, I guarantee, even if Astrobot does sweep the house, everybody in the audience is gonna go,
"Oh,
huh."
I don't think so. I think you got a lot of people played that game.
Yeah, but even so, it's again not groundbreaking. It doesn't like slam all of these categories.
Having not played the second game, I can't say whether it's groundbreaking.
I've watched a lot of people play it, and because I was interested, I was like, oh man, what does this game got? And about a week after, the popularity just kind of went, like everybody played it, and it was fun and great, and everybody had great things to say, but then it kind of
it's because it's a single player game, right? That's the way it normally is.
Or a co-op game.
It could be a co-op
game. Well,
I guess
it's got a plot line, so.
But yeah, like, I personally do not believe that game is good enough to sweep the house out of all of these other games. There are a couple of other games that are better than that in certain categories.
I don't disagree with that.
It's not really about that. It's more about
whether Sony owns it. That's what you got to know. I guess the advantage he has is if Sony's trying to buy from software, then what they could do is go, oh, well, we went ahead and picked the Elden Ring one because if you buy that company, then it's technically we're choosing you too.
Yeah, that's it. Jeff Keighley wants Sony to pat him on the head and tell him how great
If not Astrobot, I think it could be Super Mario Party Jamboree. That game was pretty popular, and it still is a pretty fun co-op game that I see people playing too.
Well, but that's the thing. The replayability is high, where it might not be as high with Astrobot, right? So you're not going to have... So I don't know what the Plucky Squire is, but now I want to look it up.
Yeah, what is
sounds
the Plucky
cute.
Squire?
Probably something on Nintendo, I would assume. I'm just assuming.
Game Pass. Oh, it's on Steam too.
Oh, okay, well.
Storybook characters, three-dimensional world outside. It must be swapped between 2D and 3D realms. Okay.
Oh, it's adorable.
Oh,
it's on everything, yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Moving on from the family games, Sim strategy game. Huh.
Manor Lords is on there, which
maybe either Frostpunk 2, but I think that the classic community might push Age of Mythology. I mean, that game is a classic.
I don't disagree with that, but since their vote only counts for 10% of any of the actual information, or 2%, whatever it was we figured out last year.
I think best sim strategy game, though, is going to be one that they're like, yeah, who cares? And the winner is moving on, is what that category
the original Age of Mythology. And this game was so big back in the day, it had 2 discs. And it even said on the discs, do not make illegal copies of this disc, because that would stop you. Nowadays, we've got DRM and things like that to, stop so that you can't copy stuff. But back then, it was just words. Don't do that. We lived it on an honor system back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
I don't know. Frostpunk 2 is what I would, based on playing the first game, I would say it's the second game is what I'd root for on the end of the day. But Age of Mythology was all fantastic.
There was one on the list called Unicorn Overlord that I had never heard of. It's because it's not on Steam. But I don't play these kinds of games, but you called it Unicorn and you put like wedding bands in the little logo for it, but apparently that's not at all what it's about. So I feel lied to by this game.
It is on Switch though.
Yeah. Yes. But I just don't use the Switch anymore.
All right. Best sports and racing game. I like that they just put it all into one thing.
Sports and racing. And you can tell they were
activity game.
They were running low because they're like, put Top Spin in. That's sports, right? That's like, yeah. I think 15 people tennis. Played that, but
whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of tennis people now. Maybe in the United States, 15 people played it, but in Europe and places like that, it's pretty popular.
They were just trying to fill out the category.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any of those games are any different.
I'm horrible at Top Spin. Every time it pops up on like Game Pass or something, I try it out again. And I used to be good at it, like back in the day when it was basically 2 buttons that are available to you. And now it's like, nope.
I was good at Wii Sports Tennis.
Man, you come at me back in the day in the Mario Tennis things, man. The fucking double.
That's a little bit different, sir.
Yeah, you just press one button. You move back and forth, and you press one button. That's all you get from me out of tennis games. Back and forth, press one button. All right. Anyway.
Best multiplayer.
Best multiplayer game. Helldivers 2.
Should win it. Yeah. Probably won't. It'll probably be Call of Duty, but
That game exploded, and it's got a pretty consistent player count too.
Well, and Call of Duty was released broken, broken.
I gently look past the whole review bombing and whatnot because that was Sony's fault, not the developer's fault.
Yeah, they didn't have anything to do with that.
So I don't put that into the like as a game. That game is incredible, and it's truly tragic that they did that formula before Halo did. Halo has ODST.
And still couldn't manage.
Should have been
too focused on Master Chief. That's why Halo Infinite didn't go a different direction. They still revived Master Chief again and said, "Let's go, buddy. Get your old ass out there."
All I'm saying is that they should have done that. Like, how much fun would we have all had if we could have loaded up as an ODST, drop down, and fight Covenant?
That would have been fun.
Like, all the different fucking maps. Like, holy shit. Like, that would have been it.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that we can see planets that are, like, there, and they're like, 50% of this has been taken over by one direction or the other. And it's like, you show up, and it's like, all right, go in and just try to annihilate that as much as you can and free a planet and then move on to the next planet. And
that would have been so fun.
You want to know what's even better about that? Is that you could play either side too. They offer you to play the Covenant side, and then you can fight back on each of the planets, and they can add a PvP section to it too, where you can do PvP, where both sides drop players and then you fight for control. Or you could do PvE where you just drop as one side and fight for control. Like, you could have had so many options for so many different players if you would have just done that instead of getting so wrapped up in your little Master Chief blanket.
I wish somebody at Microsoft was like, write that down. But instead they're like, Master Chief again will be fine.
We're gonna start over, do third-person shooter for Master Chief. It's like, why?
Yeah,
just put him to bed.
We're gonna redo the franchise. Okay.
I mean, I'm fine too if they want to do third-person ODST style. Like, that's fine. You want to switch to third-person? Cool. Give me an ODST style.
I'd rather it be first-person because I feel like that's the magic of Halo. But whatever.
Yeah, well, again, it'd be a entirely different thing. Like, I want to play a Spartan in first person, but if I'm playing an ODST, I'm fine being third person. I've played Gears.
Yeah, but you can swap back and forth in the one they're talking about, can't you?
In what?
The remake that they're working on.
Can you? I thought it was.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
No, they said you'd be able to switch back and forth. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Best adaptation. It's going to be Arcane, hands down.
Fallout.
I wish it would be Fallout. It was so good. But it probably will be Arcane.
It's going to be Arcane. I can almost guarantee it. It's like 99% guarantee that it's going to be Arcane.
Because I know with the golden joysticks, Fallout won on that one. And
well, Arcane wasn't out then.
No, 2 weeks ago. Arcane wasn't.
The last set of episodes came out.
It was nominated, so I don't know.
Oh well, they weren't finished with it then. But it'll definitely be Fallout or Arcane. Fallout was good. It was real good.
It was.
Knuckles wasn't bad.
No,
Yeah,
I liked it.
That was okay.
Nuggy liked it, but it's definitely not groundbreaking. Tomb Raider was really good too. I enjoyed out of that one.
I didn't finish that one. I only watched the first episode. I need to go back for it.
You should.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely stay in that one. That one's good.
Good run. Most anticipated game, Grand Theft Auto 6, hands down.
I feel like
with
that
no competition.
I feel like that would win it, except for Death Stranding 2 is Jeff Keighley's best friend, and that'd be an opportunity for him to get him out there.
If Death Stranding 2 wins, I call it BS, because there's no way anywhere that Death Stranding 2 is more anticipated than GTA 6.
I do not disagree with you.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I'm
think
sorry.
that...
Yeah, Death Stranding's anticipated, but GTA 6 is on a whole different plane across everything.
Yeah, but Rockstar isn't kissing Jeff Keighley's ass, and he's not trying to kiss theirs.
I would put Ghost of Yotai, or however you pronounce that, first. I mean, not first, before you get to Death Stranding. Yeah. So I think Grand Theft Auto, hands down, most anticipated. Ghost of Yotai, then maybe Death Stranding, but Metro Prime we've been waiting on for so damn long that I can see that one having built. Monster Hunter's there just because.
Yeah,
they needed
pretty
to
much
round out the category.
Yeah, they need to round out. We need 5.
There are people anticipating that one, but
I wouldn't say at that level, though. Would you?
I mean, again,
I'm looking forward to Metroid more than most of those other ones. So, to me, it's Metroid, then GTA, then the Ghost game. I didn't really care for the Death Stranding.
I don't blame you. That game is.
I really liked it, and I am looking forward to it.
And that's why, if it wins the game of the year, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, yeah, Jeff Keighley wanted that just to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I think that's how you really know if that one wins. It's definitely Jeff Keighley's picking them, and you're just getting to pretend to vote.
Yes, 100%. Everybody on the internet can agree with that too. Like, even the people that are on the board picking this should be like, well, if we don't pick this, then everybody's gonna know. It's like GTA 6 is the most anticipated game. Like, I mean, you don't have a choice. The original GTA 5 came out, 2013, right?
Yeah.
2013, 11 years ago. They've released like 67 different copies of the game. They keep selling like millions of copies every day.
The online is just ridiculous.
It came out. It came out. You have PlayStation. No, 2 years after the PlayStation 4, didn't it?
Then you have the RP community behind it, and the fact that Rockstar bought 5M.
Yep.
In order to do so now they're going to be controlling all that.
I guarantee you're going to get RP servers, like official RP servers that are hosted from their end. You'll probably have to pay like a monthly fee or some shit like that to.
That feels skeezy, but it probably is right.
But it will be better because you will have to pay in order to get in, which means you're going to have to buy a new copy of the game because you're going to get banned, and then you're going to have to buy a new sub if you want to play on the RP server. Making that money.
Yeah, that's one thing Rockstar's really good at.
Oh, yes.
Even into that.
They say just print money. Well, they print fake money and make real money. How is that?
Content creator. I honestly, I don't keep up enough with content creators that I literally don't know anybody on that list. I'm sorry, everybody.
No, I don't either.
I think the only one I've heard of was Typical Gamer, and I still don't know who it is.
Yeah, that's the only one I've been like, I've heard that name before, but I don't know who any of these people are.
It could just because I've heard the term Typical Gamer before, and I just thought I heard something about the person,
So I don't know.
I don't have enough time to be into content creators these days, unfortunately. I'm too busy playing the games with the little bit of time that I have.
Anyway, best esports game.
I don't know. That's gonna be up in the air.
This one's up in the air. I could see it being Valorant or Dota 2, or see it Counter-Strike or League. I don't know what Mobile Legends is, Bang Bang, but
yeah.
Any of those 4 god tiers are definitely, which I find horribly ironic. Valve, Dota and Counter-Strike, and Riot, League and Valorant.
Yeah.
You have the 2 MOBAs and the 2 first-person shooters. Like, it's basically Valve and Riot fighting it out for esport games these days.
Yeah.
They alone are keeping the esports market up.
You know what the crazy part about that is that Blizzard had the opportunity to create the entire esports, because Dota 2 is literally based on a Warcraft 3 map, and that was modded. The guy that went to that they brought in to talk about it, they decided they didn't want to go that route. And then you had League of Legends that started just before that, and but it was still based on a community of people that were playing the original Dota map and going in and playing it. And now you have these massive billion-dollar companies that have taken that over. And then when Heroes of the Storm tried to do it, it just didn't work
because they were too late to it.
They were too late to the party.
Yeah.
And it's like they have two of each categories.
I mean, they tried, but they tried too late. And the guy who made it tried to go to Blizzard first, but they weren't interested. And Valve was like, the moment, I'm pretty sure that the moment that they heard that he was trying to go to Blizzard to get his game, Valve was like, hey, we'll make your game with you.
Oh, you're talking about Valve? Yeah.
Yeah.
Valve he ended up going. Hey. I think he ended up going to Valve, if I remember correctly. His name's Icy Frog.
Valve approached him.
Oh, okay. So it was somebody that had heard from over there.
And that's when the huge lawsuit happened, because Blizzard got so mad that Dota was based on its Defense of the Ancients, and the Ancients are a tree in Warcraft 3, and that's kind of what your towers were supposed to be. And Blizzard was like, that's ours, but because the guy who made the mod won this lawsuit, he got to keep the title Dota.
Well, they originally that's the reason it has a 2 on it. So Valve set it up to have the 2 afterward, because they knew the lawsuit was going to happen in order to be able to protect them. Because they figured they could actually make it work that way, which I think is neat. I'm listening to Play Nice now too, which is the rise and fall of Blizzard, and it's very interesting.
They haven't fell yet. Yeah.
No, they haven't. But it is. Like, I hated Bobby Kotick to start with, but once you listen to this book and this journalist that has written all this stuff and interviewed all these people, I hate him so much worse now.
We lived through it. We watched, we felt and played the actual downfall. Watching the first microtransaction mount come into the game, every person who played it that day was like, oh, well, this is the downfall.
Well, the thing about it to me is like, and I don't want to get too much details of it because we're derailing everything, but it is one of those where it is the stuff that was going on in the background and the people that were trying to protect it, and then they ended up blaming it. What ended up happening is basically Kotick arranged to buy Activision Blizzard away from Vivendi, who owned them at the time. And got the backing for it. And when he did, they fired the guy that was in charge of the finances for Blizzard.
The chief financial officer. Yeah,
who actually was the only reason the business was staying alive, because they were completely a disorganized company. And they brought in a guy that the very first thing he did was show a video so everybody would relate and know who he was. They showed a video of his fast cars, his Ferrari he owned, and him jumping out of a helicopter to go skiing. And it's like to people that were sharing apartments.
Yeah, read the room maybe, or...
Oh, no, it's all about money at that up. And trust me, you were there, Griff. You felt Blizzard die.
Oh, yeah.
We living through that. And then watching it now, I logged into retail, watching it now is painful. Because it's just a shell of what it was. But the good thing is we have Classic, so we still have the full shell.
Classic, right?
Yeah, we have Classic 20th. Anyway, the last two ones are Best Esports Athletes, which it's only going to be one person. There's only one winner in that one, and Best Esports Team. It's going to be Faker for Best Esports Athlete because he after this last year's World, like they're putting him up there on the pedestal with all the other great athletes across the board, like in football, basketball, everything. This guy has been playing for 11 years, has 5 world titles, has never lost underneath semifinals. So every time he's ever gone has always been the semifinals. Like, to win the world championship, you go through him. He is 28 years old. He's been playing for 11 years, and he just won worlds back to back. Like, this guy is an absolute machine when it comes to esports.
The sad part about this to me is the fact that like in the United States, because we're in our own bubble, let's be fair. In the United States, this dude's name outside of the gaming community is probably not going to be known for another 20 years. Because think about it from this standpoint, is like, because you go to Korea, somewhere like that, people are going to know who it is because of the gaming world is different, right? But here, the regular sports world is there. They look down on people that game for a living, type of deal. And it, like, of course, you're going to get the response from ESPN and places like that have contracts. But as for just having a regular group of people getting into esports and things like that, it's not to that level yet. It's going to take another 20 years, and then what he's done is going to be extremely impressive to other people when you start comparing him to the Michael Jordans of the world. You know what I mean? So it's like, because he's that level.
Oh, yes. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, and this goes for everybody who watches our show, who talks to anybody. If anybody ever asks you who's the greatest gamer in the world, you just say Faker.
Yep.
Like, you don't even have to know him. Just know his name. It is Faker. There is nobody on this planet that can play video games to his level. And like 11 years in a professional setting, won worlds multiple times. Like, he has proven himself over and over and over and over again.
He's changed his strat too, right? Didn't he? He had to completely innovate every time.
Because he's got wrist problems too, so he has to play differently. He has to take time off. Like, if you're ever in the gaming world, it is Faker who is the GOAT. Greatest of all time, period. Like, and he's 28, and what he did at this last World was hard carry the last 2 games to make sure he dragged his team over the edge to win again. Like,
and 28 in the esports world is the same as like 80 in the real world.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's old guy on the team. He's the geriatric.
He plays with like teenagers and early 20s.
Yeah. I'm just saying something. Like, even for me, it's like, oh, that hurts me on a personal level, but I'm proud of him.
Yes. Like, he is hands down the GOAT gamer of the world. And you will never say that. You will never disprove that, period. Show me anybody in the esports world that has even half as many trophies as he does. Like, he is in a tier of his own. And then the best esports team is his team, which is T1.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, so.
I like that it's 3 League of Legends teams, a Dota team, and a Counter-Strike. So again, Valve, Riot.
Yep. Like I said, Valve and Riot are propping up. They are the 2 pillars of the esports world.
That's crazy.
And they both have games in each category, too.
Yeah.
The third leg got a little wobbly and fell off, which was Blizzard with Overwatch, where it was like, yeah, we do the Overwatch.
Okay. There was a reason for that, too. So originally, when they wanted to go into that, when Blizzard looked at it, they said, I want to pay $250,000 investments for each one of the teams. Start off slow, make it as slow as we possibly could. Kotick comes in and says $20 million to buy a team, put as many people in it as we possibly can because we want to get the levels up to the same level that everybody else in the world is for their esports, and didn't want to build it slow. So every single team started $20 million in debt.
Yeah, every player in the esports world, everybody who is an esport consumer, everybody said the same exact thing when that first come off too. It was like, hey, that's gonna fail. Yo, that's going to fail. That ain't gonna work. Everybody across the board and in the community was like, that ain't gonna work. Here we are 8 years later, and it's like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me you're not in the actual video game world without telling me.
Yep.
I mean, but there used to be things like MLG for a while, and so a lot of the esports stuff was shooters, things like Halo and Call of Duty and all of that, and That fell off hard too.
Which I find ironic is that Blizzard is like the fucking start of the esports world with StarCraft and all of that stuff, and then they had Dota, and then was like, that ain't gonna go anywhere, and Valve's like, I bet you it will.
Bet. Okay.
Which is ironic, is that the two pillars of the esports world were built out of Blizzard.
Yep.
Yeah, but they just couldn't hold on to it.
Because Riot made League of Legends, because Ginsu worked on Dota, the original, and I think it's Icy Fish, who
Icy
also
Frog.
worked on
Fish.
Icy Frog,
Icy
who
Frog,
worked
right.
on Dota, went to Valve. Like the two, there's one other guy who worked on it too, but the two other guys who worked on it went for Riot and Valve.
Yeah, because Dota was the modder that they brought in, and he was like, and they were having a whole discussion about it. They didn't want to listen. They were like, "No, we're good." And that was Blizzard too. That wasn't Activision. That was Blizzard, that made that
Blizzard
decision.
was not interested in making an esport, and Riot was already working on their League of Legends based on Dota.
And the guy, I want to say the person that brought him into the room, and I can't think of his name right now, but it was the same guy that created, that was the original created for Team 5 for Hearthstone.
I know who you're talking about. Oh God, what's his name?
But he came in and was like, "You need to look at this," because they had all the information, and he was a younger guy, and he was playing it at night with everybody else because it was such a great mod to have. It was like, you need to look at this. This is going to be the future. And then they were like, "No, we can't take up any more projects right now."
It's because I think they were just like getting started on Titan. Like they were putting all of their effort into Titan around that time. I believe
that's right. Yeah, they had a lot of sourcing out on it. That was the most expensive project they've ever had.
That was the most expensive failure that they've ever had.
But it was the most expensive project that they had.
Yeah,
so,
by far.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all of that. On the next show we'll talk about who the winners were.
December
and
12th is when the awards are.
Yep, so. December 12th. All I'm looking forward is Darksiders 4. And Resident Evil 9. Those are my hopefuls for the Game Awards.
You actually might get one of those this time.
I know. Darksiders 4 is looking real good.
Be interesting.
I think there is. I think that's it. Unless you want to talk about what we've played.
We're an hour and a half in.
I mean, there's only 2 shows left for the year. You better get out whatever you're thinking.
Well, next show will probably be entirely Game Awards and what we played this year. So I'm sure we can manage to fit it in.
Yep. We do appreciate everybody that hangs out with us every other week at If It Respawn. Make sure that you go and hit that little button at the bottom that says sub, and the other little button that looks like a bell, so that way you get that notification. And make sure you hit the like button as well. You know, if you're enjoying what you're seeing content-wise. Woo-woo! Mainly Griff. She's the one that you need to look at, not the rest of us.
Oh.
But
it's the pretty face.
That's right.
It's the pretty face. I think that's Baka over there.
That is
Baka's pretty face. Then that's fine. It's her pretty face.
My shiny head.
Oh, you're down there.
Yeah. Mine's for the bass people. You know, the ones that get distracted by shiny things.
That's what it is.
Also, make sure you go to twitch.tv/EliteChicken313. I'm sure soon Chicken will be live at some point. When he does, you need to make sure you hit the follow button, and then that way you'll know exactly when he goes live. Also, make sure you follow the Discord's always linked, guys. It's down at the bottom. Yeah. And join the Discord, and that way you'll also know it that way too. Go to twitch.tv/MDBOtree, where I am going to start streaming back again. Thank God. And actually tonight. Yay, me. Woohoo. For the Respawn. I'm Oak Tree.
I'm Griff.
I'm Chicken.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Please hang up and try again.